Welcome to the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report, the only show that provides you with the best insight and information to everything Franklin County sports. And now here's your host, Bobby C.
Hello and welcome to the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. I'm Bobby C. I want to welcome you here today. Well, we got a wonderful guest. This guy has done so much for our community, not just with his own school, but also with a lot of the younger youth kids in the community as well. We're going to get to him in just a moment. Want to say a big thank you to our underwriters here today, the Four Leaf Clover Restaurant in Berniston, also Denny's Pantry, Berniston Road in Greenfield, Hubie's Tavern and Restaurant, Avenue Way in Turners Falls, and by Lisa Albert of Albert Hearing Services, 33 Riddell Street in Greenfield. Want to say a big thank you to our producers here today. We have Philippe Simone, we have John Meisner, and we also have Allie Murphy. And right here is our wonderful guest, and I want to welcome Joe Gamache, the athletic director, also the head football coach of the Franklin County Tech School, also the head wrestling coach at the Franklin County Tech School, and he also is a very important coach for the younger kids as you're involved with, I think, the Grizzlies. Is that what it is?
Yeah, do some coaching with the suburban team, the Greenfield Grizzlies, and the Valley Storm as well.
And the Valley Storm. Yeah. So you have a very busy plate. And, you know, people don't realize that just being an athletic director alone is enough to be able to be on somebody's plate. But to be able to take on all these other tasks is surely something that you've been able to do, and you've done it very well.
I definitely appreciate that. I mean, I've always loved being involved in athletics, being involved with the youth, and I can thank my daughter for getting me involved with all the softball stuff as well. I was always a baseball guy, and when she was young, decided she wanted to get into it, and my original plan was to be a popcorn eater and watch her grow and play. Unfortunately, it's fortunate. I actually love it. I got into the coaching realm there.
Well, you know, 25 years that you've been doing some coaching here in the area, and you've really made a big impact on a lot of people's lives. And the one thing that I can say about a guy like you, Joe, is that when you bring up, you know, when people bring up your name, it's something that's always very positive. And I just want to let you know that you had a positive influence on my grandchild too. You know, when my grandson was going to camp over at Unity Park and you were taking on a summer program for a couple of summers, you know, you were one of those guys that my grandson thought was really great. And, you know, he knew you as Mr. Joe back then. And, you know, Gabe's now a middle school student now, you know, 13 years old, and now over at Turners Falls at Great Falls Middle School. But you bring up your name, and he definitely will always remember you for the great way that you ended up treating him.
Well, so he was definitely one of my little buddies over there at that summer playground program, and I love checking in with you from time to time just to see how he's doing. And sounds like he's doing really well.
He is.
And someday he's probably going to get involved in some form of media-related enterprise, and he's going to make more money than any of us.
He's a really smart dude, and he's really, really intelligent. But, you know, the one thing is that there's people in his lives that he remembers, and it's nice to be able to see a kid like him who went to camp as a young elementary school kid and now being a teenager and remembering the impact that you had in his life just for only a short 6 or 7 week program for a couple of summers. So that really says a lot to you about you and what you were able to do with the kids over there in the couple of years that you were able to do that job, and you did it very, very well.
I appreciate that. It was one of the chapters of my life that I had a lot of fun with, for sure. You know, John Dobis, who runs the Park and Rec over there, he was good to me while I was there, and he's still good to me now. He's a good friend, and I had a lot of fun during that experience with all the kids. Get to meet kids from everywhere.
You know, that's the best part about it is that's how I was able to meet you, and you know, and that's how I was able to know more about what you are all about, and finding out that you've taken on the big job as the athletic director over at a school that had an athletic director there for a long time with Kevin O'Connell. He was there for many years, and then you ended up taking that over. Then finding out that you ended up, you know, being involved with wrestling, and that was a real big passion for you. And then, of course, with the football program as well. That has been something that has really been a growing thing over at your school, is sports. And I want to talk about this today because we had a perspective where I had a chance to be able to have Doug McLeod be able to be in here a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about where things are going in some of these other schools. You know, looking at what has happened with the new co-op program between Mohawk and Turners now, and how a lot of these other schools' teams are really dying down and they're not having the big numbers anymore. You guys seem to be not having a problem with numbers at this moment.
Well, I think a big key to that is we have a really solid group of coaches that ultimately we coach to improve skill level, and we want to compete and we want to win. But ultimately what we're doing is we're encouraging participation at the highest level. We roam the hallways and we're finding kids that maybe haven't played baseball since they were 9 years old, and we encourage them to come out and give it a shot. We have some kids that maybe had a bad experience somewhere else with some other coach, and we encourage them just to try it out. Just come out, give us 2 weeks. If you like it, you stay. If you hate it, you walk away, no questions asked. And I think because a lot of our coaches do work in the building, I think that helps because we're able to recruit kids in the hallways. It's always tougher. And when I first started coaching at Franklin Tech, I didn't work in the building and our numbers were low. And once I started working in the building, it was a little bit easier to start to connect with kids in the hallway. And then they like you, they like your personality, they see that you have a vested interest in them, so they're more willing to come out and give it a shot, I think.
I love the idea that come on out, give it a couple weeks shot, see what you like, see if it's something for you. Maybe it's not for you, maybe it is. Maybe in the end, this could be one of the best decisions that you ever made in your life, you know? But to give those kids that option of no questions asked, just come out and give it a shot. That's a great way to try to be able to get kids to at least try and to see if it's something that they like. And I'm going to give you an example of a kid that I know who told me a little similar story to what you just said, and that is Cam Tuttle. Yeah. You know, he told me that, you know, they were like, hey, you know, how come you're not going to wrestle? And he goes, I don't want to wrestle. And they're like, come on, come out and try it. See if you like it for a couple of weeks. He said he went out, and now the kid's done really, really well for you. He's really done well in your upper weight classes to be able to go up there and compete against some of these other wrestlers that he wasn't really thinking that this was going to be something that he was going to like.
Yeah, it's true. When he first came in, I mean, he was going to give it his 2 weeks and probably had it in the back of his mind that he wasn't going to stick around very long. But he is the kind of kid that's very committed. Once he gets into something, he doesn't walk away. And he learned to love the sport. He grew grew a great connection with some of the other kids that we had on the team because wrestling is a smaller and more unique group. You spend a lot of time together, and we ride smaller buses, so we travel together.
That's true. You guys do. You have the nice white buses that are smaller, more intimate, so you guys can be able to have the kids talking to each other on those, especially when you guys play a lot of your matches down in the Springfield area, so there's time for them to talk.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so we're traveling to Eastern Mass.
Oh, yeah, and you go to those big tournaments, too. When you're traveling down, you guys are traveling down to all these big tournaments that they have, because wrestling's a little different than what we are used to, because a lot of the tournaments that you get involved in are mostly down toward, you know, even down in the Cape area, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you're taking, you know, 2.5, 3 hour trips.
Yeah, when you get up at 4 in the morning on a Saturday to go to a wrestling tournament, and you either sleep on the bus or if you're awake, you're talking.
Right. Yeah.
But in Cam's instance, you know, like you said, he was a kid that we encouraged him to come out, and he's grown to love it. You know, he did really well last year in his sophomore year, and we're hoping that he's going to continue to progress. I mean, a lot of that's sort of the track in wrestling. It takes a year or two to kind of feel it out, figure it out, and then, you know, year 3, year 4 is when you really start to be a little more successful in that sport.
You know, another kid who was the same way as Cam is Tim Fritz. You know, you look at Tim, and you recruited him to say, hey, you know, we could use you. Why don't you come out and play wrestling for us? Yeah. And he started he never knew nothing about wrestling until he got at your school. And you sort of recruited him in.
Well, he started, I had to drag him into the football program first.
Right.
You know, he was in a phys ed class first thing in the morning, and I had heard he was a baseball player because
because he did New Gilbo. Yeah,
Mom cuts my hair, and
and she cuts mine too.
Yeah. So she would tell me about him, and then when he came in the door, I saw him, and I said, "Hey, I hear you're a pretty good baseball player." And he said, "Yeah, I'm all right. I like baseball." And I said, "Well, good. That means we need a JV quarterback, so you need to come out and give that a shot." And he threw him off guard a little bit, but he did come out. I gave him the 2-week speech. Yeah. He loved it, and he actually, by all accounts, I think that sort of bypassed baseball in terms of the sport he loved the most. He turned into a great leader for us, was a great player for us. He was an undersized offensive lineman, but he worked his tail off, and then defensively he was one of our leaders at linebacker for a couple of years.
Yeah, matter of fact, he even made All-League and had a chance to even get honors for making All-Western Mass, which I thought was great.
Yeah.
Really nice to see that for a great kid like Tim.
Oh, absolutely.
And I know his mom and dad were very proud, and he really made some great strides. And when you think about a kid like Tim Fritz, you made an impact in his life. And there's something about you that kid really liked. And he ended up nominating you for a special award that you're now in a voting situation with, to be able to receive a $25,000 award. And it's really a community hometown hero award that's based on coaches and people that have done special things to impact not only their community, but also the teams or the kids that you end up coaching. And Tim really thought a lot about you, enough to be able to make a nomination to be able to give you that opportunity to be in the situation that you're in today.
Yeah, it was. That one came as a shock. I mean, there's a lot of coaches in this area that do just as much, if not more, than I do in terms of being invested in the lives of kids here. I got a phone call in late June from Flow Sports, which is an internet-based company that broadcasts a lot of high school and collegiate sports and even some professional sports. And they had told me, I kind of thought it was a scam at first.
I imagine that you would. And I got to be honest, I'd probably think the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. But I did some research on it and decided to go through the process, and it's been narrowed down to 5 finalists, and I guess the voting closes the end of next week sometime. They're saying September 27th or September 29th. I guess they haven't finalized the date that they're going to finalize the voting. But it was a shock to me. It was an honor. Initially, I wasn't real excited to go through the process in the summertime and whatever else, but I thought it would be a good opportunity not only to honor Tim's nomination and the fact that I got selected, but bring some light to our programs and our school and this area and even the state. I mean, it's a nationwide competition. I'm not 100% sure where all the other finalists are. I know one's from Florida, one's from Massachusetts, I'm from Massachusetts, and then there's 3 others that I haven't really done a lot of research as to where they're from at the moment, but it's an honor. It's humbling, and I've heard a lot of great support already from people in the area and really kind words, which, to be honest, most people, I feel that anyways already. Like, I know people appreciate what I do, and that's why I do it. I don't need the accolades, but it's definitely a pretty unique and pretty cool opportunity to be involved and considered.
I tell people all the time, I do what I do for the kids. Yeah. This is for the kids. This isn't for me. I mean, a big, huge guy sitting on a camera at GCTV studios every week is not what people are looking for. People are looking for information about how things are going for the community in sports and how things are going with the kids. And the best part about this show, and this is why I love doing this, is that we get a chance to be able to focus on all the 6 schools that we have here in Franklin County and be able to focus on each one of the achievements that are happening in each one of the sports that are happening each season. And right now, this is our busiest season for sports. Fall has the most sports going on at one time. When you think about it, you have football, you have, golf, and then you have track, you have cross country boys and girls. Then you have soccer boys and girls. There is just a lot that goes on in this area when it comes to fall sports.
Forget about field hockey.
And field hockey and volleyball are also in there too.
Oh, yeah.
So when you add up 8 different school sports, this is the biggest season of all the other seasons that we have. And it literally is in a busy time because it kicks off the beginning of the school year too. So it's like all of a sudden summer ends and it's like boom, right into the heart of the sports.
And it's a busy time for athletic directors.
Huge, huge. And a guy like you trying to be able to shuffle stuff around. I can't imagine what you guys went through this past spring with all that rain that we had. That was an ugly, ugly month of May and early June that you guys had to deal with. And I don't know how you guys did it. I really don't. Because I know that it was really a pain just for the local little leagues and like your daughter playing softball and stuff over at Murphy. It's really tough to be able to make all that happen. So that must have been tough for a guy like you trying to shuffle around and make all these games be able to fit with all the other athletic directors trying to get together and sitting on phones and trying to make things work.
Yeah, I mean, it was very difficult for everyone. The one thing we can't control is the weather, and living in New England, it changes every second.
That's true.
You know, the thing about athletic directors as a whole, myself included, I think we all live by the mantra that chaos is good, because I think downtime, we don't know what to do with ourselves.
It's very true, because you don't have downtime. And people need to understand, if you're an athletic director, you don't just sit in the office and make out a schedule. When there's games that are happening at night, athletic directors are there. They're there for those games at night. So they put in a lot of time. They're there during the day with the kids, and then they're there at night when there's athletics that are happening too. Now in this guy's case, he's got 2 seasons where he's already coaching, so he's already there. He's there for the wrestling season, and he's there for the football season. You know, we look back and we say to ourselves, Franklin County Tech, 1984. Bing! Okay, they had maybe let's be totally honest. They didn't even have football, okay? Football program was non-existent in 1984. I'm going back to when I graduated. That's where I'm going at.
Okay.
But I'll tell you this, though. You had kids that were athletes that wanted to play. They played soccer. They had a decent basketball program. They had not bad. They had a couple of guys that were really good. Matter of fact, Tyler Hobbs' dad went to school with me, but he was a basketball player for the Tech. Okay? So we go back and just bring up a couple names I know that would trigger you from being at the school. But in the long run is that it was a lot different then. Now, we fast forward to 2019. We say to ourselves, 35 years later, Franklin County Tech sports, their numbers are pretty darn good. And the participation of these kids in what they do, not only in the classroom, out there taking on the co-op program as juniors and seniors, and working to learn their trade that they're learning while they're at the school, and still have time for a 2-hour practice every single day, or traveling with the wrestling team on a long, long journey to go and get up at 4 o'clock in the morning during the wintertime. There's a lot of commitment that's going on to you guys. And I got to tell you something, those kids in that school have really made a commitment to the lifestyle that it takes to be able to be a student at that school if you want to play sports.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think the nature of the school in general is, you know, we're trying to build futures. That's our motto. We build futures, right? So we're teaching kids work ethic, you know, at a very young age, younger more so than maybe if they had stayed at their sending school. I'm not saying that they work harder, because those kids work just as hard too. When you're a teenage kid, getting up early is not easy.
Right.
You know, going to school every day, that's not easy. It's a choice. The beauty of our building is our kids can do the same thing that you could do at a regular public high school, their sending school, comprehensive high school. If they want to go the college route, that's an option. They want to go to a 2-year school, a 4-year school. They want to go to the military. That's an option. Also an option, which most of the kids choose, is they come in, they learn a trade, they set a good foundation, maybe make some connections, click with a co-op job somewhere. And then I have kids that come back to me at 20 years old. They're working for EverSource, and they're getting close to 6 figures without their overtime. And then you mark in their overtime, and they have, I mean,
yeah.
they really have the world at their hands. It's you know, I'll have student loan debt that I'll be paying the rest of my life, and these kids are, you know, just raking in the dough. And not only that, though, to go back to your point about the athletics, because they work so hard in the classroom, the ones that are committed to the sports that they play, they're used to that hard work already. So they give us what they got on the field. Whether that means they get up at 4, which they don't want to do, or not, then they give us what they got. And it's already ingrained in them because that's what they do in the classroom on a daily basis as well. It's funny you mentioned the co-op thing, because I think what tends to happen is we do have a few kids that are very committed to the sports that they play. So they make the co-op jobs work for them, where they can do the co-op and still compete in athletics. But we do, so oftentimes, I always say, people say, you have great numbers. And it seems like every year I say, yes, but we're young. And people say, well, you said that last year, and you said that. And usually it's true, because what tends to happen is we'll get high participation freshman year, high participation sophomore year. It starts to dwindle a little bit in that junior year. And then you find out which kids are really, truly committed to the sport, and then really, truly committed to their trade. Because if they're committed to their trade, they get that co-op job, and they're working up in Ashfield, and they're making $14 an hour, or whatever it is, at 17, 18 years old. And what I have to offer them is, well, you can come down here and get beat up on the football field and get out of work at 3, or you can stay at work for an extra 2 hours and earn an extra $150 this week or whatever.
Yep.
And a lot of kids.
And a lot of kids are going that. But I've noticed that with a lot of schools, though. I've noticed any kid who can get a job and has a chance to make money is taking advantage of wanting to get a car, or they want to be able to have a little lifestyle. So a lot of kids are doing that. So that has just been one of the elements of why the numbers are down, is just that one factor, that some of these kids, they want to try to go to work, which is a good thing, because it's given them a chance to, at a young age, be able to get that work ethic into their lifestyle. But you guys, that's something you're instilling right away, because when you tell them when they come there, well, here's the deal. If you come to go to school here for 4 years, the first 2 years you're going to be pretty much in the school the whole time. But your junior year and your senior year, you're going to have an opportunity to be able to work in the trade that you've been learning since you started as a freshman. I know the freshman year is like an exploratory type year for the kids, but by then they figure out what they want to try, they go and they move forward from there. And now, my brother-in-law is one of the teachers at the tech school, been there a long time with Bill Gallant. Yep. And I will tell you, he is intrigued with how well these kids have really performed in what he does as an electrical teacher. But he also knows the big picture too, that the electrical business is really good business to be in. Oh, yeah. And these kids that are really good and really committed are doing easily 6 figures right now. And a guy like you, who is sitting there saying, well, like you said, want to play football? Hey, we can go get beat up and, we can. But the kids who love sports are still having an opportunity to do both. Now, I'm one of those kids that I think what I would do is I would do the co-op program and I would play my sports, but on the other week, I'll just take that little bit of money that I'm getting in the co-op program, and I'm still going to have that as my spending money, but I'm going to play sports because I'm a jock and I like sports. So that's going to be something I would do. But sometimes a kid sees the dollar signs and they just get more motivated in that aspect. And that's what's happened in a lot of schools. But you're the only school in our area that offers any kind of program like that, where the kids can be able to make money starting in their junior year of high school. And that has been something that has grown and made the tech school be able to be what you guys are today. The word is out on the street about the opportunity, and also the quality of education that you guys have been able to give has been really huge for these kids.
Yeah, it's funny. I hear a lot of people say that, they're taking more kids, and I don't know that that's actually true. I think more kids are choosing to come to our school, but the percentage is the percentage. We have X amount of kids that we can accept from any town. It's just that I think more kids are choosing to come more than we ever did. It's just that, we've been fortunate that more kids are choosing to come to our school at this point in time. We do offer a unique opportunity, as you said, and, just to sort of piggyback on what I was saying before, a lot of our coaches will work with those kids that are on co-op, so they can do their co-op job and play sports. It's just that depending on where they're located, some kids choose not to. I mean, we pull from such a wide radius that if we have a kid who has a co-op job way up in the hill towns, they have to make a decision. Their boss is gonna keep them until 3. Do I want to travel 45 minutes, be a little bit late for practice, practice for an hour and a half, we'll say, and travel 45 minutes home.
It's a lot of commitment.
That's a huge commitment.
That's a huge commitment. And like you said, it's a lot of mileage too. And what about the kid who wants to pull that during the wintertime, living in Ashfield, coming all the way down to the valley and then driving back up to the top? You know,
Absolutely.
just say the kid lives in Buckland, but he works in Ashfield. So he's up in Ashfield all day. He drives all the way back down to Turner's, does practice, and then he comes back and he's got to go to Buckland back to his house. That kid's put in a hell of a day, you know? That kid's put in one hell of a day.
And we've had a few of those kids too. We've had a few. But that's a high level of commitment.
That is. But you know what the other thing is that I've noticed too? The quality of coaching that you've been able to get. And that's a testament to you. You know, I look back and I say to myself, wow, you know, look at the commitment that some of these coaches have really made to this school. You know, some of these guys that you've been able to get have been really good quality coaches. You know, I was really sad to see that Brian Winslow ended up deciding that, you know, and I get it. He's got 2 younger boys and he's got to focus on where he wants to go. But Brian Winslow was an excellent baseball coach for your organization, and he was one who was very well respected, and you could see the way the kids loved him. And to this day, I have a nice connection with Brian myself, but he was a kid who really made a good commitment to your school, and you, like you said, he's there. It's easy to recruit when you're there, you know?
That's true.
So, Brian, I'm going to say one thing. It's sad that he's not there, but in the other part of it that's great is that he's always going to encourage those baseball players to go out and play for that varsity team and go out there and still play ball. You know, even though I can't be your coach, hey, you know, I'm still there for you, bud. I'll still get all the updates on the games because you guys, you know, I'm in the school every day, and you know, but there was a big loss for you guys to lose a guy like him.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of our coaches as a whole do a great job with their programs.
I do. I know. I really, really do.
To speak specifically to Brian, you know, we coached together during my last couple years coaching baseball, and we kind of like passed the torch, and he took it and ran with it. I mean, he built that program into, numbers-wise, way more kids than I had involved when I was coaching it. And then, you know, from a success standpoint, he did extremely well. You know, they won a league title. He got a couple of really, really good awards, one from the MIAA, one from the local Umpires Association Sportsmanship Award.
Yes.
He did a great job, and he made the right choice. You know, I sort of walked away when my daughter was getting involved in softball, and his boys, they love baseball.
They do, and they are very good. And I've seen videos. Those kids in the backyard, they're legit, man.
Yeah.
And they're going to be good.
Oh, they are.
They
certainly are.
They are going to be really good.
I did a quick little clinic with him this past weekend because he asked if I'd go and work with him. So we did a little over at Pratt Field. It was like a 1-hour clinic. Just
cool.
With some younger kids.
All right.
It was eye-opening for me. It brought back memories of working with 5-year-olds and what that takes, and made me thankful that I work in a high school. But he left coaching for the right reasons, but he still stays highly involved. I mean, the kids, he's still checking in with the baseball kids constantly. They have a tremendous level of respect for him, as do I, and the job he did with the program.
You know, there are so many coaches there that have done a great job. You know, Sean Knightley's been with you a long time with the girls basketball program.
And golf. Don't forget
with
that
the golf team.
He'll let you know about that.
And let me tell you, the golf team's been incredible. Yeah. And talk about a golf program that's really grown, man. I am amazed at what that golf program has been able to do. And I want to tell you another thing, too, is how wonderful it is to be able to get some of these kids to be able to perform at a high level. You know, you look at Brody Wood, you look at Burnell, you know, they did wonderful things for you with wrestling. They're in the rafters, you know. Mikey McGoldrick, what a great little golfer. You know, he's a good golfer. And he's part of the co-op program that goes to Greenfield to play hockey.
Yeah, he's a good hockey player,
he
too.
is a hockey guy too. He's quite an athlete, I'll tell you. And he drives race cars too. He's quite the all-around guy. But there's a kid who really came out of the gates and just started excelling in golf. And boy, He's in there all the time. You have guys that are really good. You have a good golf team.
Yeah.
Your golf team is doing pretty well right now. You guys are doing okay.
They're off to a good start.
You're off to a good start.
Yeah.
And you know what? We got 3 really good golf teams right now that are in our area.
Yep.
I'll tell you right now, Greenfield's off to a really good start. They're undefeated. Your golf team's doing really good this year. And of course, Frontier and Bill Fitzpatrick's got a really good team down there as well. So you really think about this. We have excellent athletics in this area.
Absolutely.
And you're a guy who makes schedules, and you know exactly what's going on as a pulse of what is going on with sports in our community. And you're seeing things grow in ways that you've never seen at your school with numbers, where we're seeing other numbers go down. But I've thought about this over the last couple of weeks, Joe, and I have come to a positive of this thing. You know what? The kids that were going to go to Turner's, or the kids that were going to go to Pioneer, or we're going to go to Maher, or go to Athol, or go to Greenfield, or go to Mohawk, you know what? They may go to the tech school, but those athletes that want to play sports that are from those towns, they're playing for you. So even though their town lost them as a participant, they're still participating because they're playing for the tech school. So these kids are still playing sports that want to play. So when we hear about, oh, the numbers are down in schools, well, they're down because the tech school has an opportunity to give these kids a different outlook on where they want to go with the future of their life. And you are giving them that opportunity, but you're also giving them not just the curriculum, but you're also giving them athletics. And your numbers are good because those kids that are from those other communities that want to get the best of both worlds are getting that opportunity. And we're still seeing kids play sports. It's just that they're not playing for the hometown where they ended up growing up as an elementary or a middle school student.
So you bring a couple of interesting, you created a couple interesting thoughts for me, actually. The first thought is that I wonder if we ever did research in terms of percentage of kids from the region that are participating in sports, if it's still the same. It's just they're participating in a different location. So
yes,
you just created that for me.
And you know what, Joe? That's what was going through my mind over the last couple of weeks, as that's the same thing that I was thinking.
Yep.
You know, I was really thinking about the show when I was talking with Doug McLeod, and I'm like, wow, you know, the numbers are way down at Mohawk, but how many kids from that area of the West County go to the tech school?
Yeah.
You know?
We have a decent population from there for sure.
Yeah.
A decent amount of our student population. You know, I know our girls' volleyball numbers are at an all-time high right now. We have close to 40 girls playing volleyball, which is crazy.
Oh my gosh, that's unbelievable! Wow.
They might outnumber my football program at this point in time. Another factor is, you know, we have a very supportive administration. We have our superintendent of schools played basketball at a very high level, played collegiately, and then went on and played post-collegiately. You know, our principal played college baseball at Niagara. You know, our assistant principal he's highly into crew and rowing. I mean, that's sort of his number one. You know, our administrative team really supports athletics. You know, and thankfully our school committee supports that as well. I mean, we've had a lot of good things happen at the building in recent years. You know, now we got lights on the football field. We got a really nice outdoor basketball court where hopefully we can start running some leagues out there in the summertime.
I know, it's beautiful. Love that. Can I tell you something? Looking good up there.
Yeah,
it really is.
And
looking good.
We put brand new dugouts on the baseball field. They're working on putting those up on the softball field. Like, a lot of good things are happening for athletics in our building, and a lot of it stems from the support that we get from the administration. So that helps.
Yeah, and like I said, Joe, I think if we really did do the research and we really thought about adding up the athletes that are at your school from what towns they're in, add those to what's going on, I bet you Dougie McLeod can sit there and say, well, there's 15 kids, there's 13 kids right there that are playing on the tech team. Well, if we take those 13 kids and we add those to the already 18 kids that I have, now I'm over 30 kids that I have on my football team. You know, that's what 31, 32 kids at Mohawk for a varsity football program's not that bad.
No,
that's a pretty good number, right?
Those are great
numbers. That's a good number. But you have to remember that the MIAA's come up with this new rule now. They don't want any less than 20 players on a team because it's not feasible for them to be able to keep that momentum going with those kind of numbers what's going to end up happening is eventually it's just going to fizzle out. And that's exactly what we're seeing in a lot of these smaller communities. It's happening. It's happening everywhere. And it's not just Franklin County. It's happening in the Berkshires now. I was even told that McCann Tech's numbers were way down. And back a few years ago, Joe, when you were playing them, they had huge numbers, Joe.
Yeah,
they were big.
Absolutely.
You know, they had big football back then. You know, they had like 50 kids on their team.
I was when Coach LeClaire was there. He's actually a good friend. I haven't seen him in a couple of years.
Yeah,
he did a really nice job.
He
with that
did,
program.
but if you notice though, their numbers are down. You know, McCann Tech has taken one of the biggest hits in the Berkshires on their football program, especially.
And I think numbers up there are starting to dwindle as well. I mean, I think what it comes down to is opportunity. I mean, I think I hear oftentimes, oh, they're taking our kids. Like that seems to be the mantra. Franklin Tech is taking our kids. We don't take kids. Like the way I view it is when they choose to come to our school for the opportunity, the unique opportunity that we offer, they become Franklin County Tech students. Like they might reside in Greenfield, but they're not Greenfield students. They're not Mohawk students. They're not Turner's Falls students. We offer a substantially different type of education. So there are kids that reside in Turner's Falls that are part of our football team, but the reason why they're at our school isn't athletics. They're at our school for an education.
That's right.
And that's the part that I sit and I listen often to people say, oh, they're taking our athletes. We're not taking anybody's athletes. We're taking your students, and we're not taking your students. They're choosing to come to our school, and we have an opportunity for them to play sports while they're there and receive an education that they couldn't otherwise receive. So,
amen. And if you threw me a big thing of whoopie pies right here and said, Bobby, don't touch them. You know what, Bobby? I'm taking one, okay? Because the opportunity was there. You have given people opportunities. Your opportunities that you have given have been good opportunities.
Yeah.
These are opportunities that are going to help these kids in their future. It's going to help them grow as people. And what better icing on top of the cake than to be able to still be able to do the things that you like to do with extracurricular activities. And that is the point, is that you can still be able to play sports at the tech school as well and still get the education that you can be able to get there. To me, it's a win-win situation, and it's proven that it's working because look how many kids want to go to your school, and look how well things have really grown in that building over the years.
Yeah, and I think athletics are a huge, huge part of the educational process.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, you learn skills in the classroom, but you also learn skills on the athletic field. You learn social skills, you learn team skills, you learn dependability, you learn commitment, you learn dedication, you learn people skills. So athletics is still a part of the educational process.
There's no doubt about it. That's how I got to be where I'm at. You know, I played sports my whole life, and I learned how to be able to work with other people. I learned how to be able to have, like you said, good communication skills. When you're sitting on a field, you have to talk to each other, right? And that's part of the communication that's going to make you be able to succeed. And I think that what people need to understand is that they're not taking away students. They really aren't. What they're doing is they're giving an alternative for an opportunity for kids that want to take advantage of it. And I'm noticing that this new group of kids that are going through over the last 10 years have decided that they're interested in Franklin County Tech. And that's why in the last 10 years, your numbers have gone through the roof, because people are looking for alternatives. Mm-hmm. And I bet you there's a lot of parents out there that see the kind of skills that their kids have when they're helping mom and dad. Maybe dad's working in the wood shop or something, and or maybe he's doing some automotive work, and this kid's really good at helping out dad. And they're saying, hey, you know, we got a really good automotive program over at the Franklin County Tech School. You know, that's an option for your kid. Well, parents are saying, hey, you know, Will, you're really good at this. You might want to consider checking out the tech. We can go to one of their programs they have and be able to check out the school and learn a little bit more about it. And look what it's done. It's just been a growing process for you guys.
Yeah, and I think the region that we live in, if families and kids are really excited about this region and enjoy living in this area and appreciate living in this area, if you go off to college and get a degree, you might be limited as to how you're going to make a living later on in life. But if you go and learn a trade, the world's always going to need electricians. The world's always going to need plumbers, mechanics, you name it. Anything that we teach, that if you really want to stay in this area, or if you want to branch out, the world needs that. So if this is the area that you want to make a living and you want to survive in, I think our school offers some great opportunities for that. I think a college degree is important. I'm not trying to downplay that. I have one that I'll probably be paying for the rest of my life, as I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
But unless I'm involved in education or maybe the legal system or criminal justice, there aren't a lot of opportunities for me in this area to make a living. Whereas these people working in trades or owning their own businesses, that's how you survive, and that's how you make a good living in this area.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, I've been in the radio business for 36 years, but that isn't where I make my money, folks. I'll be honest with you. I make my money with my DJ business, going out and doing weddings and doing what I do. That's where I make the dough. Yeah. So that was a trade that I was willing to take on, and I decided to expand, to open my own business. That was the choice I had. A lot of other guys and gals that I've worked with in the business decided that they don't want to go that route. They don't want to be dealing with that kind of a, business to do. But I love it.
It's late hours.
It is late hours. But you get to meet a lot of people.
Absolutely.
And being in that kind of a world that I love people, it worked out perfect for me. Yeah. But these kids have great opportunities, and I think that's the one word that we have to remember is opportunity. Eventually, what's going to happen, Joe, and you're going to tell me this because I'm going to leave it up to you to tell me this. I'm going to have you second my emotion, as we say. I really feel eventually in this community that we're going to be down to probably 3 schools at one time. It's going to happen. Things are really dwindling down. I'm going to use you as an example. I'm going to tell you why. Because you only have one daughter. A lot of these families today are only having 1 or 2 kids. You're not seeing families of 7 or 8 anymore, Joe, like in the old days when I was growing up, where I was a family of 6 kids, all right? Yeah. Those days are over now. So we have to remember that the numbers are down because families aren't big anymore. And eventually, all these towns that have been always, having these schools where they've had a lot of kids coming through them, those numbers aren't big anymore. So eventually, you got to take Franklin County and you got to start maybe regionalizing, as I'd say. And where the tech school is a regionalized school for vocational purposes, I think on an educational purpose for community, I think we're going to probably end up having that happen. I think it's going to be down the pike. Might not be for another 10 or 15 years, but I think it's on its way. And I don't know what your take is on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be 100% honest. I don't deal a lot in politics, especially educational politics.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see it as a feasible option.
Yeah.
But there are people way above my pay grade that make those decisions and factor a lot of things into that. I guess I can't really answer it because I don't know. I don't follow it enough. But if I had to make an educated guess, I would say you're probably not wrong there.
Yeah.
The declining population, you bring up a great point. Like, people are having less children. Number one, children are expensive.
They are. They really truthfully are. You're really telling the truth on that end.
But the other piece is the population in this region is declining for the exact reasons that I was saying. You have people that maybe had high-level jobs, whether it was up in Vernon at the power plant or wherever it may be, and now those opportunities are gone. So those people still need to make a living. So people had to leave.
They did.
And there's not a lot of industry to attract new unless you're a plumber, you're an electrician, you're an auto mechanic, because you'll always have work. But for those that do not have that option, there's just not a lot of opportunity in this area for people to make a viable living. So people are doing the best they can with what they have, as we are as well.
Yeah.
And you make it work, but you can't have more than 1 or 2 responsibly, because if you do, then you're really going to put yourself in a bind, I think.
Exactly. My wife was a nurse, but she decided that she was going to become a nurse later in life. Yeah. So she started off really, really late. I mean, she started in her, in her late 20s. So it was late, and that's when she decided she was going to start. And, a lot of these girls today and guys that are now involved in the medical world, a lot of them are getting that opportunity very young. And I heard that there's a couple of programs that have been added to your school. Is one of them like a vet tech program that I heard something about?
Yeah, so they're in the process. This is year 1 of the vet tech program. And again, it's a process. Our superintendent keeps us in the loop as much as he can. They're starting to bring in some animals. They're going to get their first class of vet tech students this year through the freshman class. The next step is to hopefully build a brand new vet tech center. The school actually owns some property across the street from where people see it right now, so across the street from the softball field. So the hope is once they'll be able to get approved for the funding and move forward and open a brand new vet tech center across the street, similar to what they have at Monty Tech in Fitchburg. They have a brand new one. It's only about 3 or 4 years old, and it's a beautiful facility.
That's awesome.
But our superintendent has done a lot of the legwork in reaching out to do some partnerships with some different colleges and some other veterinarian associations that are local and some local vets. And we have a new instructor who used to be a vet in the region, and I feel really guilty because I can't think of her name at the moment. But she's brand new to our school. She seems to be doing a really good job in generating interest. I know a lot of kids in the freshman class are very excited. That's part of the reason why they chose to come to our school. They want to seek that out as a possibility. So it's exciting, and new is always exciting, but I think it's something that this area certainly could use. I mean, it's an agricultural area for the most part, and there's a lot of farms in the area. And
a lot of farms, a lot of animals, and a lot of animal lovers around here.
Absolutely.
Huge. I mean, I can't believe how many families have a pet, at least one pet in their home. I mean, I know we've had a pet our whole life. Me and my wife been together 32 years, and we've always had a pet.
They're cheaper than children.
They're cheaper than the kids. So that's a great addition to the school this year that was added in. Now, I'm not sure if this number is right, but did I hear that the freshman class this year is it 159 or something close to that number?
Yeah, it's in the 150 to 160 range.
Yeah, that's a big entry class this year.
It's one of the bigger classes we've had in quite some time. I would say the average that we've had over the 18 years I've been involved in that school now has probably been somewhere, depending on the year, somewhere around 125, 130, like probably average. Over the last 18
So it was a
years.
nice 25 to 30 kid boost, but you've added other programs that you didn't have before.
Correct.
Like the vet program can't be added unless there's students that are going to end up attending that to make it work.
Sure.
So I can see where it opened up opportunities for more kids to come in because there's more opportunities for those other trades, and that's what's pretty cool.
And I don't know that it, again, going back to the percentage thing, I don't know that it created more opportunities, but it may have generated a little more interest.
Correct.
I think the percentage, as I said before, the percentage from any given town due to the agreement that we have, that percentage didn't change. It's just that more kids opted to seek out a vocational education.
Right, exactly, which is really wonderful. It's funny because I even have people in my family who are like, well, I'm really thinking about the tech. And I'm like, oh, well, you know what? It's a great opportunity. Yeah. It's a great opportunity for the kids, and it's a great opportunity for them to be able to grow in what they're doing. And what you guys do for the community is amazing. And I want to just say, I thank you for what your school does for this community. And it's from the bottom of my heart. I have to admit that we were lucky to have Kurt Richardson and his crew come over and help us at GMLB.
Yeah.
They did some work with us. We decided that we were going to redo Lunt number 2 years ago. We needed some help, and between him and also the grounds crew guy down at Deerfield Academy, they were all willing to work together to help us. And of course, now we put in the new mini Fenway over at Lunt Field, and that's been a new project as well. But now we have Snow and Sons that helped us. Well, Snow and Sons is a huge partnership with you guys.
Yeah.
And those kids are literally coming and working with Snow and Sons on those off weeks to be able to get more education on what it's about and the different types of work that they could be doing. So that right there is just something that they've done for me. Then I think about all of the wonderful things that you guys do for Habitat, or what about the electrical crew that went over to help out at Greenfield High School, helping them when they built their booth and helped up with the, and you get guys that are in there for carpentry, and you guys are doing these little houses, and you guys went up and do handicap ramps for senior centers. Yep. There's wonderful community things that people do not know that the tech school does, because you guys aren't out there asking for the publicity.
Right.
But we all know. We all know. Because if you have a pulse on the county like I do, I know what is going on out there. And it's those kids and the teachers who are the leaders of your school that are making the community a better place. And I just want to say, I think the Franklin County Tech is probably the best asset that we've had in this area in a very long time.
Well, that's awesome to hear.
Yes.
And get recognized for sure. I mean, I think the beauty of our school is that we are community-based. We do want to give back to all the towns that are we're getting our funding through the member towns, but also the overwhelming majority of our staff members, we're community members. Most of us live in this region. We're either from this region originally, or we're here now, and we want to see the community grow, and we want to see the community thrive. So I think it's not a knock on any other school, but I would say some schools have people traveling, a lot of people traveling from out of the area to come to work, and that's what they have to do to make a living. But not all the schools are like that. And our school in particular, I mean, the people that you see in the building on a daily basis, there's a good chance you're going to see them in the grocery store at night too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we want our community to thrive, but we want to try to give back to the community. We want to teach the kids to give back to the community, because this is where you live, and this is where you thrive, and you want the area to thrive as well. So.
Absolutely. I mean, I tell people all the time, I am so amazed with the Franklin County Tech School and what they've been able to do, but I also love the kids. I mean, I have met so many wonderful kids from your school. It's funny because we went there to be able to do some footage, and we were there, and me and Allie were there, and all the guys were like, "Hey, Bobby C, hey," I watched all those kids grow up, Joe.
Sure.
I've probably did their parents' wedding. There's many ways that I got to know these kids. And it's all because of the fact that we were able to build the community friendships. And that's what I love about Franklin County. It's very small, Joe, but in the long run, it's a really nice, we're pretty tight-knit around here. We really are.
Yeah, I honestly have grown to love the area. We rented a home when we first got here, and we ended up buying the home because I love it. I love the feel here.
Yep.
Most people know each other in some way, shape, or form. It is a tight-knit community, and I get to see people that have similar interests, that are trying to give back to the community. I appreciate all you do. You just donate your time at school dances, or you go down to Murphy Park on opening day, and you donate your speakers so that we can make our announcement. I mean, and you're constantly giving back. Plus, you're coaching. You started coaching a long time ago in that local baseball league, and all those kids know you, and they get to hear you on the radio in the morning, or whatever it may be. Everybody knows the Bobby C voice. It's
really true. But you know what? We have to make a presence too, right? And that's important. And you've made a presence in the years that you've been doing what you do. I make a presence in what I do. Your other coaches are all doing something, but you're also teaching those kids that they need to do the same thing. And you're teaching them at a young age. So when they become older, when there is something that they need to be able to do to help out a community, or they need to be able to be on a PTO, or they need to be on the Boosters Club or whatever, those people are the ones that step up and do it, because they got taught at a young age how important it was to make it work.
Well, and at some point, a little bit later on in life, somebody's going to have to take care of me. So
exactly.
I hope I leave a positive impression with them.
Well, Joe, I wanted people to get the perspective of what was really going on from a tech point of view, and that's pretty much the main reason why I had you here. But I also wanted to let people know that Flow Sports has you in that right now. If you go to flowsports.com, folks, you'll be able to see the information about the voting that's going on. Joe has been nominated by one of his former players, Tim Fritz, to be able to have an opportunity to be able to receive the special award, and it's a Hometown Hero Award for a guy who has been able to make an impact on not only his players but also on the community. And I hope that every single person who's viewing in today can go to flowsports.com, be able to get your vote in. We got to get it in this week and beginning of next week because we want to get as many votes out there as we can for Joe. I don't care whether Joe wins or loses. He is a winner here in our community. He always has been, and he has always been the guy that everybody looks up to. And I can even tell you that my grandson looked up to him in just a couple of summers, that he was able to have him as one of the head counselors over at Unity Park when he was in elementary school. And now this kid is a middle school student and has nothing but great respect for what he calls Mr. Joe. And I have so much respect for you too, and I love your wife Amanda. I love your daughter. You guys are a great family. I know that you and I get to go and we get to suffer together in the wintertime when we go to watch UMass basketball together. And we've been sitting in the stands and seen some pretty tough, lean years over the last couple. But the bottom line is it's about family staying together, and that wonderful family that you have is pretty special. And I want to say I thank you both, you and your wife, for the wonderful things that you guys give back to the community and the great example that you are to not only your daughter but also to all the kids that you guys have been able to be around in the years that you've been doing what you do.
I thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, it's my pleasure. And I appreciate you taking the time to come out here today just so we can get a perspective of what is really going on with the tech school, because like you said, I think what people are perceiving out there is totally different than what really is happening over there. It's really a wonderful thing. And to hear it from somebody who's definitely got a pulse on what's going on over there has been a way for us to be able to open that up here on TV and let people be able to see exactly what opportunities are available right there at Industrial Boulevard in Turners Falls.
Yeah, and speaking of opportunities, I appreciate the opportunity to do that. Hopefully I represented it the way that I should be.
You did a phenomenal job. You did a phenomenal job, and I thank you again for joining us here today.
All right, thank you so much.
All right, I want to thank Joe Gamache. I also want to thank our producers here today, Philippe Simone, John Meisner, and Allie Murphy. I'm Bobby C. I want to thank our underwriters once again, Four Leaf Clover Restaurant in Berniston, also Denny's Pantry, Berniston Road in Greenfield. Also, our friend Sean Hubert at Hubie's Tavern and Restaurant, Avenue Way in Turners Falls, and Lisa Albert of Albert Hearing Services, 33 Riddell Street in Greenfield. Next week, we'll have lots of scores. We have lots of things to talk about. If you noticed, I did not talk about Joe's first football game that he ended up having this week. We decided we bypass that because we have a lot of things that were very important to talk about, but we'll talk about all that information next week here on the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. Have a wonderful week, everybody, and just remember, support your local athletes.
Thanks for watching the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report on GCTV. Catch a game and be sure to join us next time for more sports and fun.